Hey, Rachel and Tanner, we're so excited for you to get married!
And so I'm supposed to tell either my favorite story or things about Rachel. Um, Tanner, you're lucky to be marrying Rachel. Rachel is so kind and so welcoming.
So when Rachel was a little girl, she always dressed up in a princess outfit. She had several princess dresses, a crown, and those plastic high heel shoes. Well, when she was about 4 years old, we decided to take the kids hiking. We drove to the top of the canyon, and when she got out of the car, she had those plastic high heel shoes on again. And we were like, there's no way, Rachel, there's no way you can hike up the mountain with those shoes on. And she was just adamant that she wanted to wear her princess shoes hiking. So Emily was a little baby and we had to carry her, but we just decided to set out. And as soon as Rachel got tired, we would just turn around. But that little 4-year-old was bound and determined to get to the top of the canyon or top of the mountain in those shoes. And she made it all the way to Lake Mary and most of the way back before her daddy had to help her a little bit. But we could see at a young age how competitive she was and how determined she was. When she set her mind to do something, she did it. We're so excited for her wedding day when she gets to be the princess again, and she will have her prince by her side, and they will live happily ever after.
When I think about Rachel growing up, there are a few things that stick out. For one, she is fiercely loyal, extremely determined, and a lot of fun to be around. I remember for Father's Day, one time, it was just shortly after the World Cup, and Rachel has a way of making sure that she includes everybody and always wants to give everybody a gift. So in our family, we're not very good at giving gifts, and let's say that sometimes we forget, but never Rachel. We can always count on Rachel. And so for Father's Day, she had actually put together and made a World Cup trophy, and then put "World's Greatest Dad" and wrote a nice card. And she always put together a card. So it was one of the things that really was always so fun about Rachel, about how much she cared and how much she wanted to show her appreciation to others.
And one of the initial thoughts that I had when I first met the Bains was that Rachel always makes you feel welcome. You never feel like an outsider when Rachel's there. She always laughs at your jokes, no matter how terrible they are. Just ask Christian. He's got a lot of bad ones. And she just makes you feel welcome, never judgmental. She also tells great stories. Just ask her about the time she scraped the snow off her car in the garage. That's a pretty good one.
My favorite memory of Rachel is when we went water skiing this last summer at Lake Powell. Apparently she had not ever really been water skiing before, but was willing to come and try. In fact, she was able to water ski on two very easily, and had advanced to where she wanted to try to water ski on one ski. We gave her some instructions, and as I recall, she got up the very first time she ever tried to water ski on one ski, which is pretty amazing.
So when I was a little kid, I would eat all of my aunt's peaches. She had a peach tree and I would eat them all. And so my uncle started calling me Peaches because I'd eat all of their peaches. Then along came Rachel. And when she came out, she, for some reason or another, just looked like a peach. Like, think of her skin tone, she was just small. She just looked like a peach, and so growing up, she'd always be called Peaches. I think half our ward thought that was her real name, because it was just Peaches this, Peaches that, and they didn't even know her name was Rachel. But she was the cutest little kid, and we loved our Peaches.
One of the biggest things I think about when I think of Rachel is just her amazing story of perseverance and strength and success in gymnastics. And I mean, when she was in high school and middle school, she had people and coaches who didn't think she'd be able to go and do college gymnastics. And she just went to work and she believed and she persevered and proved them wrong. And not only was able to do college gymnastics, but at BYU, and then got into the lineups and competed and now is on scholarship. I mean, it's literally incredible.
However, one time when she was younger, she was probably, I'm guessing, 4 or 5, and she was going through a whining phase. And she, being the third child, fourth child, sorry, being the fourth child, so a lot of times she didn't get, the attention that she wanted or felt that she needed, with two older sisters and a brother. So one day she was just whining about everything. It was like, and finally I'd had enough, and I just looked at her, and I looked at her and said, "Why do you always whine? Why it's non-stop whining? Why are you whining?" And she just kind of stopped for a second, just completely stopped without, anything, looked up at me and said, "Well, if I don't whine, no one will listen to me." Which obviously made us feel bad, but it was like so true. It was like, oh, that makes sense.
The first time my Auntie Rachel met me, she had to wear 2 masks and gloves. I love her.
I was lucky enough to go to high school with Rachel, and not only did she make me late every day, I also have to live up to her 4.0s and high ACT score, so thank you very much.
When Tanner mentioned that he had been dating a girl that was on the gymnastics team at BYU, well, us Heatons, not being flexible at all, wondered, can she do the splits? And so we would, wonder if she'd show us sometime if she could do the splits, because to us that's amazing. And I'll never forget going to her first gymnastics meet, and yeah, she can do the splits in the air over a balance beam that's 4 inches wide and lots of other stuff too. So I was like, wow, yep, she's really good at gymnastics. So it's been really fun to watch her in that, and we look forward to more experiences with it and having her a part of our family.
Rachel is the sweetest aunt. She waited so patiently to finally become an aunt, and when she did, she's just loved her niece and nephew with her whole heart. Every time she sees them, I swear she starts crying because she loves them so much, and it's just so sweet.
A more recent memory of Rachel and Tanner's, we went and hiked the suspension bridge here in Draper, and we went to the parking lot, and there's a little dirt road probably 50 meters from the parking lot, and we started hiking up, and probably 3 minutes into the hike, like at the very beginning, Rachel turns to us and goes, "Man, are we there yet?" And after about 3 seconds of all of us kind of looking at her thinking, what on earth, she goes, "Haha, just kidding." And I'll never forget how funny that was, and how patient Tanner was and kind, and he treated her well, and while I was probably making fun of her and being a rude brother.
She treats people well with kindness and respect, and she has such positivity and such forgiveness. And Tanner, you are marrying literally the best wife and mother of all time. She is the catch of all catches.
One of my favorite memories with Rachel is Tanner and Rachel came home for a weekend, and I was looking for homecoming dresses, and I was like kind of stressed because I couldn't find anything that I liked. And so I don't know, Rachel and I just sat down and we started looking at dresses, and it was really fun.
Hey Rachel, one of my favorite memories of you is when I had you for Christmas and I had no idea what to get you, and I'm like, she likes Ewoks, I bet she might like the little stuffed Ewok or something like that. So I got you one, and when you opened it, you were just bawling for like 10 minutes because you love that thing so much.
One of my favorite memories of Rachel is back when she was probably 8 years old. We were staying at my grandma's house for the night, and me and my cousin Lauren, who was my age, it was us three staying there. And Lauren and I, the terrible people that we are, we decided to sneak up on Rachel and tie her up, her legs and her arms, and probably her mouth, with a bunch of old pajamas. And we did so, and we left her in the room, and Grandma and Grandpa found her and untied her, and she was probably crying. And Lauren and I talked, and Lauren went and apologized to Rachel. And within 5 seconds of Lauren apologizing, Rachel forgave her and moved on and started trusting her again as a mistake. About 3 seconds after she forgave Lauren, we both snuck up on her and tied her up again and left her. And I'll just never forget, as bad of people as we were, Rachel was very forgiving and very sweet and innocent, and that was something that really stood out to me.
One of the funny things I remember about Tanner is that he and our garage didn't get along very well. The first time he had an encounter with the garage was when he was finishing up his Eagle project, which we were doing in our garage during the winter. We had moved everything out of the garage, and I had to get the cars moved back in. So I thought it'd be fun for Tanner, since he was only 13 or 14 years old at the time, to let him pull the car into the garage. Well, anyway, I learned my lesson. You don't let a young kid that doesn't know anything about pulling a car in do that. At first he got in, and then all his friends had to get in the car with him in order to pull this garage in only about 30 feet. And as he was pulling it in, he was going nice and slow, and I was in front of the car telling him, come in, come in, come in. And then I went to say stop, and right at the end of the garage, instead of him stopping and hitting the brake, he hit the gas. And so it just about ran me over. I had to jump out of the way. He ended up hitting 2 or 3 of our bikes that were parked right there at the end of the garage. It pushed the bike rack into our wall and dislodged the wall a bit, and really kind of made a mess of our garage.
Tanner knows how to make ordinary things fun. One of my funnest memories with Tanner is going to school shopping, especially for shoes. He made it so much more fun. And it's not that he loved to shop, for sure, but he would pick what he wanted pretty quickly. And then for some reason, he thought Buster Brown boots were one of the funniest things he'd ever seen. So he'd always have to try those on and be goofy in them.
And something that I admire a lot about Tanner is his ability to diffuse any tense or awkward or uncomfortable situation, usually with his humor. He's got perfect one-liners and perfect jokes to just make everyone feel really comfortable and relaxed, and that's something that I think is really awesome about him. And he's also maybe the funniest person that I've ever met. Like, I have a plethora of goofy, hilarious videos on my phone of Tanner throughout the years that I will refer to when I need a good laugh.
And then one of the good memories I have of Tanner is when we were in St. George and we played pickleball. I was on his team and we were playing against Dwellston and Jake. And I just remember I didn't really do much. I didn't help at all, and we ended up winning just because Tanner was freaking good. And
so in high school, we played doubles tennis together, and we were at the state tournament playing an important match, and we got down. We had lost the first set, and we were down in the second set. We were in a tiebreaker, and we were down by like 5 points. And the other team was like, I think 2 points away from winning the whole thing. And Tanner just all of a sudden hits like 3 points in a row, just like smacks it, just like so hard, like down the line, cross court where they couldn't touch it. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, holy crap, I don't know how he's not nervous that he's going to blow it. But wherever this is coming from, I want him to keep doing it. So for that tiebreaker, all I did was try to get the ball in, and then they would hit it to him and he'd hit a winner. And so yeah, he saved our butts. So that's a really good story about Tanner. He's calm, cool, and collected, and I think that's true of Tanner in any situation. Tanner doesn't really get worked up about things. You know, he's a pretty relaxed guy. He lets me get worked up about things.
So the very first time Tanner came to our house, it was a year ago, August, a Sunday afternoon, and he literally walked in the house. In the first 5 minutes, Matt asked him to say the prayer. And then after dinner, Megan pulled him aside and had him be the photographer for our family photo when she was announcing that she was pregnant with Hudson. And not long after that, he was involved in a heated spike ball game with all the boys where he backed up and spilled lemonade all over my lap. But I think the thing that I remember most about that day is the smile that Rachel had on her face when she was with Tanner. from ear to ear. And I honestly don't think that smile has ever left her face ever since. We can certainly tell how happy she is when she's around Tanner, and we're so grateful that they are so happy when they're together.
And he and along with Caden and Tyler, it was Christmas time, we were walking along the sidewalk to Temple Square, and I think we were meeting my sister there, and I was trying to walk pretty fast, and I could just hear my boys behind me yelling, "Parkour, parkour," and I'm just used to stuff like that, so I'm just walking fast, and then I see this guy in his mid-20s walking towards me with this big smile on his face, and I turn around, look at my boys, and they're just jumping off the walls and jumping off the benches, yelling "parkour." And to me it was just normal, because that's what my boys would do, stuff like that all the time.
One of my favorite memories about Tanner is when I was little, I was playing with some Barbie dolls in my room, and I'd always try and convince my brothers to play with me, but they never would. And so one day I finally convinced Tanner, and I was so excited to play with him. So I gave him Ken and I had Barbie, and I was like, "Okay, they're gonna go to prom now, have like such a fun night." And he was like, "No, like they're either gonna be fighting, or like a fight's gonna break out, or they're gonna, like, I don't know, go to war or something." And I was like, "No." I just remember I got so frustrated. I was like, "No, they're going to prom." And he's like, "Okay, fine. They can go to prom, but as long as a fight breaks out." And I was like, "No." That was just one of my favorite memories, is playing Barbies with Tanner when I was little.
Rachel's always been really fun to tease. One of my favorite things that I would tease her about is I'd say, "Rachel, you're gonna marry the weirdest guy." So when we met Tanner, we were pretty concerned he was gonna be the weirdest guy, but he turned out to be perfect for Rachel. And he also teases her, so now she can be teased for eternity.
Congratulations, you guys. Really happy for you. And you guys are awesome.